Hey, how are you? My name is Omari Booker, and I paint. I do a lot of portraits, do some landscapes and that kind of thing, but my focus is usually people, and I just use it as a way to express whatever idea that I'm having or whatever feeling or emotion that I'm having. I usually use canvas, and I also use wood panel sometimes, and the wood panel doesn't have to be bought from a store or anything like that. If it's just a thin piece of wood from anywhere, it could be the bottom of a drawer. I paint on doors sometimes. I typically use a lot of different things in my work, and paint's one of them, but also fabric. I've used razor wire, which if you don't know what razor wire is, it's kind of the fencing. You see those big spools of sharp wire that are on the tops of fences. I try to let the idea drive what the material is. So if I'm doing something about housing, I might use housing materials or building materials or windows or doors, or when I use razor wire or those those fencing, I'm kind of thinking about the things that keep people in or hold people out. The piece over my shoulder, it's a friend of mine. His name is Terry, and it's two of his children. He has three, so he has three children, and he's finishing up a prison sentence. And I got to know him through writing letters, and he just had a really, really great spirit and positive energy, and he's an artist in his own right. He told me a beautiful story about his daughter who, as you see, he has really long hair. He has dreadlocks that are really, really long. And at one of his visits with his daughter, he cut off the dreadlock and gave it to her, and so she kind of wrapped it around her finger and hung on to it. And so I wanted to capture him with his children. I knew that I always liked art, and I went to, when my parents would take me to museums or I'd go on school trips, I would always stare at the paintings and just think like, that looks like magic. And now I make art every day, so that's why I'm wearing my paint clothes. This is actually me when I was 3 years old, so probably younger than anybody that's watching right now. And my big sister, she was about 5. And I'm working on a series called Need a Hug, because as you all probably have noticed from the social distancing, we haven't really been able to hug and touch like we usually do, and we were little at this point, and my big sister actually passed away, but she's still very close to my heart, and she's with me every day. So just a moment between my sister and I. My advice for young people as artists, I'll give you the same advice my mom gave me: just keep painting or drawing or dancing or singing or whatever the thing is. Figure out what you enjoy and do that.
Hi, my name is Andrea, and I'm an art teacher with Tennessee Craft. What a great interview with Omari. I enjoyed hearing him talk about how he tells people's stories through the portraits he creates, and not just by capturing their likeness, but also by including information and objects that tell us more about them. We're going to do the same thing today. Think of someone who's special to you, maybe someone you know or someone you admire from history. What characteristics and qualities make that person unique? How can you include those in a work of art? Let's get started. You'll just need a few things: markers, water, and a paintbrush, a pencil for sketching, heavy paper, this is a watercolor paper, colored pencils, an assortment of found objects that help tell your story. Now, to get started, I did a light sketch of the person that I have in mind. Now, first, I'm going to paint the entire surface, covering it with broad areas of color. And don't worry that you don't have any paint, because I'm going to show you how to paint with markers. We're going to apply color in big, broad areas, and it doesn't have to be very much. I'll do the face, and then the hair, and then the background. That would be a good place to show something about the person, maybe their favorite color. Once I have those big broad areas, I'm going to take my paintbrush, get it wet, and then begin to paint, running my brush through the marker. Then I can switch to a different area. And you can see right now, I don't have to be very detailed. And then the background. Now once I do this, I'm going to let it dry. And then after it dries, I can begin to add back detail to it. You can see here's one that is dry, and I can use my colored pencils to go back in and begin to make it much more detailed. Here's one that I've completed. And now that I've completed it, I'm going to take my objects that I have found to represent this person and begin to include them in the work of art. I might move them around a couple of times, deciding where I want the placement and what best represents them. And I hope you'll do the same. When you're done, you want to think about what story does that portrait tell. Now that you've done that process, you've thought like Omari. You've thought about the stories of someone that is special to you, and you've represented them in a work of art.
For more information about this activity, including step-by-step instructions, tips, and tricks, please visit TennesseeCraft.org.